to Courageous Conversation with Dr. Clara Stevens. We seek to extend a beacon of hope to those wrestling with everyday life issues. Our approach is rooted in empathetic listening and compassionate, non judgmental conversations. Judge not, that you be not judged. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Matthew 7:1, John 8:32.
Today, we are looking into psychological treatment for grief. The reality of the griever's post-traumatic experiences. Losing a significant other or close relation is extremely painful. Grieving takes time and is different for everyone. However, creating a new and fulfilling life is possible while cherishing the memories of a loved one's or an individual's relationships. If you or someone close is struggling to overcome loss, encouraging individual to speak to someone about prolonged feelings may be helpful. Many people find bereavement counseling to be useful. So find a specialist counselor for you or for a loved one. The psychology tools and professional problems asserted that for individuals struggling with symptoms of prolonged grief or trauma, specific psychological intervention are recommended for those on all these conditions. Long grief may lead to post-traumatic stress disorder in PTSD. Grievers who have prolonged stress reaction that do not go away on their own after an extended period get worse extreme reactions over time. Be careful to identify and avoid particular triggers, places, or situations that often make grievers relive that traumatic event. PTSD is not limited to the military, police, or war veterans. PTSD affects anyone who has experienced or witnessed traumatic or life-threatening situations, such as childhood sexual abuse or physical abuse, assault of all kinds, terrorist or kidnapping attack, natural disasters such as hurricane or crippling accidents. Medical treatments for grief. Wiley et al. In a self-help stated that grief is a typical human experience for which there are no recommended medical treatment. Some medical professionals argue that symptoms of depression may perhaps predate or relate to experiences of grief, which can be distinguished from symptoms of grief, and suppose that medical treatment, such as antidepressant medication, can be helpful in these cases. This view is not without controversies. Be sure to give constructively. When you are grieving, there are many constructive things that could be helpful while walking through grief. Be courageous and try some or all of the following activities when convenient. Since grief often has different layers, no rules exist in the use or in order. Try ritual customs. Rituals help us to come to terms with laws and are a way to honor the memories and to respect our lost loved ones. From a psychological point of view, these rituals are accustomed to meaning and fulfill essential functions, helping the griever to understand what has happened and confront the reality of the loss. One can make rituals to remember and celebrate the life of a loved one. For example, some people plant a tree or hold a memorial service at their favorite place. Think about what will be meaningful and honor the life of a loved one. What ritual do on anniversaries for the memory of a loved one? When talking about planting a tree, personal experience when I was apartment manager, there was one of the tenants that would only allow me to come in the living room because she has a plant that is reminder of the loved one who passed. And she told me, Clara, you can come in, and was said introducing the plant to me. And I talked to the plant. Meet Clara. This is Clara. She's a very nice person. She's one of our manager in the apartment. And I said, hey, I just went, hey, and called the name of the individual and greeted. And that is the way this individual loved to remember the particular person. So she placed the ashes and grow a flower, which becomes part of her in some respect. And I respected that. I actually say, hey, and she will only let me go in. Nobody else goes into the apartment. And thought that was very honoring for me. So let's look at these other rituals. Number one, rituals, they are so important that all cultures have their rituals that are part of the grieving process for the family. Number one, funerals. Funerals are a ritual where we say goodbye, acknowledge the loss, and celebrate the deceased life. Some cultures cremate the deceased and share ashes in fancy containers within close relations, placed in a designated area in their home where the dead remain part of the family. Others make it a big ceremony when scattering the ashes at the place of rest. In some cultures, visiting the deceased family, relatives, and friends is a traditional way to offer condolences and discuss how the person died. In many cultures, there are rituals around preparing the deceased body, for example, by washing the body. In some cultures, a wake follows after the funerals. However, and in addition to the above rituals, the customs of other cultures include celebrating the annual day to celebrate and honor the lives of deceased. In the part of Africa where I came from, the annual remembrance that we did for my parents was celebrated in church. There were uniform, which we call Shoebi in Nigeria. Now everybody in that uniform bought and so on to taste. We went to church for remembrance. We gave a memorable donation to the church. And for my mom's sake, we bought other remembering things for her that can be used in the church for her memory. And then we'll go back home to have party, to cooking, eating, and just dancing. This is the way we do the annual remembrance of parent. Mind you, this parent has to be old enough that can bring joy just for the life they live. If they are young, between who are less than 40, depends, or 50, if they are less than 40, those celebration does not come up because this will be considered too young and cause more sorrow for those. So mind you, the celebration of my parent or other people from 80, 90, and 100 days are party kind of memorial for the community. So I want to encourage you to express your grief. If you are grieving, discussing individual feeling of grief, it helps to begin coming to terms with the loss. Identify close friends or family who feel comfortable discussing these feelings. Exploring other avenues to express grief can also be beneficial. Keeping a journal helps to articulate feelings privately and unfiltered. Additionally, speaking to a professional grief counselor can provide expert guidance and support. Ritual methods complement conversations with friends and family. It is important to remember that individuals can express their needs to others. Tell family and friends when a quiet space, when you need a quiet space to grieve and to listen. Tell people to listen to you without offering solutions. I'm learning to do that. In the past, we are quick to offer solutions and all of that. And since I began the leadership classes in college, I started learning and staying clear of jumping into offering solution. So, why family and friends intended for cheering? You might need someone to just listen to you. Feel free to let them know you do not need solutions, but a space to be heard and understood. Why? Another one is to make a memory box. After a loved one dies, some people find it essential to keep their memories alive. One suggestion is to assemble a memory box of items and photos that remind you of your loved one. For example, you might include pictures, some of their favorite belongings, favorite music, treasured item of clothing, letters, favorite books, or sentimental items they gave you. You could place the box in a particular place and perhaps set a regular time to visit your memory box, like on their anniversary. For my father, being the clan leader, the leader of our clan, he has so many. Among of which we try to keep is one of his rental properties, the family house. The house my dad built for his mom when he in the 50s. We upgraded that because he told us his father was buried there, the mom was there, and that's where we bury him too. So we keep everything in that house upgraded, clean, but we make sure that the place when you go in there, you can see everything about that, including pictures and all the structures as it were. So after a loved one dies, some people find it essential to keep their memories alive. So when the way we did ours was to keep a lot of his belongings, the house the way it was built, They was upgraded, would try to leave everything or most of the thing the way they were in those days, because he wanted the grandchildren, great grandchildren, to see how what he has done and his effort. So we try to keep that. So telling your grief story is very important. Talking about your loss and telling the story of your loss and grief can help you process what has happened. Whether you lost your loved ones suddenly or after a long illness, this is often much to process and come to terms with. This includes family pet or favorite pet. Next, as your mind tries to make sense of your loss, you may feel a need and even an urgency to tell your story and make sense of what has happened. This can be an essential way of processing all the emotions that you are feeling. If you don't feel that you've had a proper chance to speak about what happened, then you might find it helpful to write your story from the perspective as if you are telling someone about what happened. If you decide that this is something you would like to try, here are some tips from psychological tools.com. 1. What was happening in your life just before you found out about the death of your loved one? If they had an illness, you might write about what was happening just before you received the news that they were going to die. If your loved one went through an illness, it might help to write about what that was like for you. You might write about the time you received the diagnosis, the medical intervention they went through, and your interaction with the medical staff. Try to notice how you were affected. Reflect on your thoughts and feelings and what it was like for you. Write about the moment you found out your loved one had died. How did they die? What happened? This moment is often very vivid. People often say they feel shocked. What were you doing at the time? How did you feel? What did you do or think? Several of these moments remain ingrained in my mind and my memories. And then, how has your loss affected you? Reflect on your feelings, thoughts, and how your grief affects your life. It was almost a year following my parents' death. I was driving from work, going home, and I was laughing, so happy about the jokes, Dad and Mom, all of them. Then just within a twinkle of an eye, I just broke down, was crying. A cop has to pull me over. Are you okay, ma'am? Will you be able to get home? I said, yes. I put on my hazard light. I actually passed the house that day. I was supposed to get home and family didn't see me. They were calling. Then I just realized I drove so far and I came back home. Since then, I tried to stop myself from going into that area when I'm at work or driving. So there are no way that the grief will come on you at any time. But just know these are okay for you to come home or share your feeling with people or friends and family around you. No matter what, try not to box it in. Avoid unhealthy coping mechanism. In the early days of the loss may be raw and it can be too painful to do things that ignite the memory of a loved one. Avoiding places, things, and situations commonly attended together is essential as time passes. The following are some tips I have for you. List all the places, situations, people, and tasks avoided. Example, include swimming pools, takeaway, going dining out, going to restaurant, taking a walk at the park, certain people that trigger the memories of the loss. Write them all down. Organize the list into a hierarchy with the most challenging situations at the top. Decide how and when to start facing the situations already avoided. Practice self-care. Be sure to request the support of a friend, close family member, or companion when you are ready to face those dreading situations and places. 3. Be patient and remember not to jump into making irrational decisions. It can be challenging to start facing reminders again. So take your time and be gentle with yourself. Often, be conscious of difficult emotions coming up, just like I did on my way home from work. Perhaps try to get in touch with the parts of your grief. Exercise to help you walk through your feeling. You need to get in touch with those things or the moment that trigger those painful memories. Telling the story of your loved one's life and your life together. Your loved one's life wasn't just about their death. It can help you remember your loved one's life and your shared life. Writing from your perspective. Imagine telling someone else about your loved one. Use the prompts below. And as I list them, I will give a personal one. As a chaplain in the hospital, often have opportunity, which I greatly honor and respect, to stand with a bereaved family. And often, I will ask them, tell me about these individuals' life. What do they like? What is their life like? And there was one in particular that they told me how he is so spotless. He like partying. We go to states to party and all the elder ones that I did. We started laughing. It was so funny. And how she would go to Bahamas, Las Vegas, and she lived life to the fullest. And then after that, we all started crying again. You know, those are the ways to remember, because I always want to know the wonderful parts of a deceased person. The same thing was shared about my brother when he passed. He passed of drug overdose. He has tried to be clean several times, but this one time he did not make it. And we'll talk about his struggles, his plans, his wills and everything. We'll laugh. I thought he was so good and at what he does. And then, thank God, we'll cry again for losing him. Sometimes I try to imagine what his children would be like if he had one. What about his wife? His fiancé has to continue life because he couldn't make it. No parent should ever have to bury their child. So when looking into perspective, I have these suggestions for you. What was your loved one like? What interests did they have? What did they enjoy and dislike? What was their life like? Like the one I was told that she never had a dull moment in her life. And what was your life together like? What did you enjoy together? Reflect on your memories. When you first met, how did your relationship develop? And did you share any memorable moments? What were your hopes for the future with this individual? How did you imagine that relationship being in times to come? And all of this I've applied myself, that has helped me to move forward in life. Now, if all of this, you can still write a letter to your loved one. If you have moments, things you wish you have said, what you ought to have done. Most often, people just leave home and then maybe they fuss and fight, and then the news come that they have passed. Often there's a lot of pain and grieving that comes with not having able to say bye or to say bye-bye. Sometimes the feelings we have about our loved ones are not straightforward. While they were alive, either of you may have said or done something that were hurtful and that you regret. Writing to your loved one can be helpful ways of walking through your feelings. Try to express your feeling and say everything you wish you had said. For me, when my mother passed, the most painful thing for me was mom liked to call me, and then she, from Africa, the time difference. And when she's out of church and she called me, like when I get out of my service, I have like 7 calls missing. Now I'll panic. I'll say, Mom, I missed your call. Sorry, what happened? I was like, nothing. I just want to check on you. Then, Mom, you called me 7 times. Don't call me that much. So now that my mom passed, I can't just fathom that. Wait a minute, there's no more picking the phone and call her. I can never have a moment to say, Mom, how are you doing? And I felt bad. Now I wish she could call me 1,000,000 times over. Why did I fuss about her calling me 7 times? So there's a Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I wish you can call me. And thank God that people around her always had her so proud of me. And that is very comforting for me. So for this example may help you. Firstly, there is nothing you cannot say. This is a personal letter. When you write a letter to your loved one who lost loved one, and no one else needs to see it, let yourself write freely from your heart. You can tell your loved one what you did not get to say to them. You might tell them how you were getting on since they died. You can include the good and the bad stuff happening. You can tell them how you remember and honor their memory. You can share the memories you cherish the most. You can share your regrets or your feelings about any issues that were left unresolved. You might tell them whatever you feel like, write them down. Or you can talk to them in your prayer or your private time that nobody has to even know about. You can tell them how you feel. You might want to include the different parts of yourself. Once you are done, think about what you want to do with your letter. You could keep it somewhere safe or get rid of it. There's no right or wrong answer. Just be kind to yourself and do whatever feels right. I've been with people making this ritual where after writing, we follow them that they get to burn this letter. And on other occasions, I've been with people who decided to bury this letter. That will give comfort. So whatever way that is constructive, you are able to share your joy, your pain, your sorrow, or the things you wish you have said, you can write them down, either burning after, keep it in a safe place for yearly memory, or you can bury them as a final, the things you were not able to say it in the letter and dig the ground and bury. You can even make an occasion or some party doing that. Now, getting in touch with the part of your grief. This is very important. It is expected to struggle with different emotions when you are grieving. 1 minute, you might feel angry, and the next minute, you might be reading with guilt and regret. Psychologists encourage people to find ways to feel and process their emotions, to acknowledge and walk through their thoughts and feelings. Many of us are used to avoiding or suppressing our feelings. I'm on top, number one on the list for that, and I'm trying to speak out right now. So it might feel strange and unfamiliar to face our emotions initially. One way to work with your emotions is to imagine each as part of yourself. For example, there is one part of you that feels angry that your loved one has gone. Another part that is sad. And perhaps another part of you that is very scared. Sometimes our emotion conflicts with each other. For example, your angry part might be angry with the part of you that feels scared. Alternatively, the part of you that feels guilty might get in the way of the part that accepts what happened. Here is an exercise to help you to work with those conflicts. In your own time, walk through the steps below. First, name the different emotional parts of you. This might include the angry part, write it down, the scared part, depressed or sad part, the guilty part, accepting part, relieved part, in denial, or any other part you know. Remember that no emotion is wrong and that it is okay to acknowledge how you feel. We're just being human. One at a time. Bring each emotion part to mind one at a time and ask yourself some questions. For example, what are these parts of you think about your loss? How does this part feel? What does this part want to do? Now, bring to mind a wise and compassionate part of you. This part of you always has your best interest at heart and cares for you deeply. Imagine this part listening to all other parts of you. We all have this compassionate part. It's just that most of us use it for other people and we are being too mean and too harsh on ourselves. We are there for people. We can understand people. When it comes to me, sometimes I just get too harsh on me. So this exercise really helped me to be compassionate. I learned to sit back now and think, look, I've worked so hard. I've given all of my best. It's okay for me to take a break. It's okay for me to take good care of myself and my body and my health. Because I can do that. I know I can spend so much money on people, and then when it comes to me buying something worthwhile for me, then I became so stingy. So these are part of what we need to do. Take care of yourself. And if you are a Christian, the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. Some people love too much of neighbor and none of themselves. Love, it is very equally important for you to love yourself. For once, get your nails done, get your hair done, do makeup. Let men go out and play golf or go out with friends, take a chat, take long drive, going nowhere and just, have fun. Take a vacation. Please take good care of yourself. So, how can this part of you help the other part to heal? What does this part of you want? If you can imagine what the deceased person wants to say to you right now, what do you think they will say? I think my mom will say, come on, go ahead with your life. I had mine. I'm fine. I'm happy. Go and do your thing. That's what I think my mom will say to me. And my dad, I can imagine him say, girl, brave does not have male or female. You got to be brave. Get up. Get up and go on with your life. Thank you so much for this episode. If you've been with us this long, please help share this courageous conversation so that we can be there for one another to give courage to one another. And the next we are going to be looking into dealing with regret. We're going to deal with regret and guilt next. God bless you.